Hi guys, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of the Kasi Business Workshop. We're out here in Kasi, but most importantly, talking to business leaders that have shape-shifted how we do things, the products we consume, even the services that we consume. I mean, the Kasi Business Podcast is a podcast that is solely aimed at, number one, unlocking practical information to help you start, run, and scale your business. Number two, profiling these amazing entrepreneurs so that you don't navigate your journey thinking that you need to get your sources from other countries, whereas our country is rich with amazing entrepreneurs that have done extremely well in various spheres. Today is definitely no different, but today is special to me because it's a lady I've looked up to, is a lady whose journey I've followed, a big inspiration for a number of us as entrepreneurs in the country, but a total pioneer in an industry. And I think just really being able to get into the brain of a unicorn and someone who's been really able to grow and scale their businesses over the year, but also with the right character and discipline and values for long-term sustainability. So thank you guys for joining us today. Stay glued, but also if you love the podcast, please press that subscribe button on the screen. Follow us and share it with all the other entrepreneurs that are out there so that they know there's a community of amazing Kasi-based entrepreneurs nationwide. I've got an amazing lady with me, almost said in studio, but this is a better studio, at a beautiful venue, a venue I've had a lot of entertaining and amazing moments and experiences in my life. But just by way of introduction, and we normally don't read the bio because I think this part we love giving you the opportunity to introduce yourself your way with your flavor and your energy.
No, sanibonani ngiyabonga kakhulu. And Nama was about to say thank you for having me, and actually it's the other way around because you are at Busy Corner right now.
Yes.
Yeah. This is Rita MaZwane, popularly known as MaZwane, founder of Imbizo Shisanyama. That is known, it's the original Busy Corner.
Yeah.
When we are sitting at Busy Corner, this is one place that when I look at it and I'm saying it's, when you think of a township legacy in Gauteng, Busy Corner has got that because Busy Corner was started about 28 years ago. MaZwane coming from KZN, obviously coming to Johannesburg, looking for a greener pastures, and worked in different places and ended up running a business which is Shisanyama. Shisanyama, of course, as I say, founder and someone who cultivated the township economy. I think that's the very important part because we are the second generation of black entrepreneurs in South Africa.
Yeah.
And that is me. There are many businesses, of course, that have been in and that I'm still in, but running. But the minute you talk about MaZwane, everyone thinks of Shisanyama and thinks of a Busy Corner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that brand really, I think from a positioning perspective, has stayed. But why, of all the different businesses you could have started, why this specific one? When you started Ngalesa Skat? Because sometimes, back then when we thought of Shisanyama, someone thought, it's never to get it to the point where it's as formalized as it is at this moment.
Well, maybe let's just talk about the inspiration.
Yes.
What is it that inspired me to start Shisanyama? And most of the story is in my book,
Yes,
obviously,
yes,
Conquering the Poverty of the Mind. But it was out of working from different restaurants, and I had a full-time job. And what I found is that there was nothing that was talking to our African lifestyle in the entertainment space and identity. And you worked at French restaurants, Egyptian restaurant, and you see how they sort of like celebrate their cultures. And despite the fact that starting with Shisanyama, I just wanted to first make money. But this specific, because I've been into taxis as well, taxi industry, and so quick I quitted that one. I thought this one is not for me. But then Shisanyama, when I then put a container, back in the days, there wasn't a proper infrastructure in townships. And without proper infrastructure, meaning people have to go to the butchery, buy, come back. They can't bring actually the proper grocery from the nearest retail stores to their houses because there was no electricity and. And I decided to say, okay, let me make it easy. Let me have a convenient butchery. But that convenient butchery soon turned into a braai. Soon turned like buy and braai. That's how they used to call it.
Yes,
But the minute we brought it to Busy Corner, we wanted to bring the element of entertainment.
Yes.
And entertainment that includes the culture.
Yes.
And by the way, I mean, I called it Imbizo. And it's so funny that right now, when I watch Ushaga Ilembe,
Yes.
that's part of the inspiration. And I see there is fire there. You know, whenever they've got like sort of meetings or special ceremonies, there is that fire. And Mina, my inspiration was exactly that, to say, let me bring something that will take someone back to your roots, you know. And that I could have used the gas stove. But I was deliberate by making fire, so that when you're standing around that fire, it takes the journey, your mind, it takes you back to your roots where you come from. And that speaks to African culture and heritage and traditions.
Sure. And I mean, I think I really love that, because it then sort of positions that sort of deep heritage. But I think over the years of running this particular business, and I think in the various articles I've read of you, you've spoken consistently around support for small businesses, but primarily township businesses across the board,
Yes.
having advised different government officials and various stakeholders. Just on the back of that, just to highlight, you know, when you come, you walk in, you look at this building, it doesn't necessarily look like you've gone through any challenges at all, you know, in a
Yes.
short-mindedness.
Yes.
What are some of the challenges that you believe you've had to work over, whether it was at the start or in the middle, where you felt like, Jesse, these are some hurdles that I needed to learn, things I needed to learn that were a challenge, or costs that I needed to navigate for me to get to where I am today? Anyone, I'm sure there are many in this long journey.
Yes.
But is there any one or two that sort of stands out for you?
Yes. You know, the challenge number one, when you start a business without having a formal educational background when it comes to a business space, because it means you learn as you go. And as you learn as you go, and you make mistakes as you go. That's it. And without any, like, maybe it's not like it's family that has started business probably many years ago, and you continue with the legacy. You are the first one. You in the township as well, and it becomes a challenge because there is no blueprint. You become that blueprint for others.
Yes.
And it's even worse when you have a vision of growing that business at some point, because all stages of running a business have got its own challenges.
Yes.
So for me, right from the beginning, obviously was finding the space to be able to do what I needed to do.
Yeah.
And like the famous Busy Corner, when you look across the road, literally where the robots are, that's where the container started.
Oh,
so
really?
Yes, literally,
Right there?
right there.
Sure.
Right there. Well, one in Ivory, but then the
Yes,
second
yes.
one, that was actually the more like the famous Busy
Yeah, the
Corner.
famous,
It was on the side of the road. The challenge there is that you want to grow the business in your mind, you know, but the mere fact that you are operating on the side of the road is like you're selling fat cookies, and that's where I started.
Yes,
I
yes.
sold that when I was at KZN, and obviously, then there comes funding. There comes a product, and I say this so many times, there comes a product that even when you go to financiers, it's not like they know that product. It's Shisanyama, what are you talking about? You now have to explain. Obviously, in the township licenses, you've got to get proper licenses. And back in the days, you know, when you think about it, the bureaucracy, the red tape, food and beverage is not the space that we were in unless you're running a shipping or you're running a tavern.
Yeah.
But when you want to formalize it, that's where the challenge is now. So, but that was addressed. I say this again almost all the time in many of my interviews. When you talk about government, what is it that they can do? Just that one policy change that they did those years ago. That 2003 Proclamation Act that allowed small businesses to be able to get permits so they can sell liquor. But coming to grow the business, second one that stands out, is that when you now want financiers to come in, it's like nobody knows what you're talking about. It's like the risks of running. Before it was fashionable to talk about entrepreneurship, Bulelani. Before it was even fashionable to talk about a township economy. I mean, that word was not even there.
Yes.
But here is a person who has a vision to do something and create jobs, add value, empower other young people within the space. When I then went to the bank, because I was persistent, I just didn't give them a space. Whilst I was persistent,
love that.
yes,
Yeah, I love that.
I didn't wait. I was not waiting for them. I had to sell some of the properties, specifically my property. That's where I was staying. And I started, putting the structure. Just before I was finished, obviously the bank came back and said, okay, we've approved the loan.
Oh, wow.
But those two were the main challenge, the space to run the business properly. So the busy corner you see today, these were 3 houses. And I had to demolish them, get proper licenses, proper approvals, and so that you are able to formalize.
Sure.
So in short, those two, because without the Proclamation Act, I don't think today in South Africa we'll be talking Shisanyama.
Sure.
Because one person had to have a vision to drive it.
To drive that.
Yes,
drive that
for me
agenda.
it was not just a business, so I can only make money. For me it was far more than that.
Yeah.
It was addressing the issue.
That's the thing, Itanda, I think in what you are saying now is, I think the biggest thing that you are highlighting, and then I'd love to maybe segue ngaphezu kwalokho and just ask, the ukubaluleka follow up, because esikhathini esiningi we go into business and we try out various opportunities, and the moment we try sidonga, certain people, some people leave it alone, some people don't stop and don't continue at all.
Yes.
And here you are persistently going after, nothing was guaranteed on the other side, whether it was the bank or the licensing, but here you are investing money, but also saying, I'm going to make the, how important is it, especially because the majority of the people that are going to watch this are young people, and sometimes you talk to them and they send one email, they leave it. They now know they people, you can't get a hold of them, they're nowhere to be found. As a result, I left that business. How important is that?
That is very important, because at the end of the day, it's your dream, it's your vision. You have to be like relentless in pursuit of that dream, but that dream must be bigger than you. Sometimes it's easy to just give up when it's only about you as a person where you want to get a job, or you just want to have a business to be able to live a better lifestyle. You have to have your why, and your why is the one that will drive you to be persistent, to follow up. I mean, I did say in one podcast, you've got to be uncomfortable where you are. Unless you are uncomfortable, if you are comfortable, really you won't find reasons to push.
Yeah.
But what is it that is bigger than you just making money that you want to achieve? Sure. And that will drive you to be persistent.
But okunye ngaphezu kwalokho engithandayo is that you also then harness the skill of selling. Ngapha amagwinya, as you say, ngapha amatekisi, and then there's so many other industries that you probably dabbled in. But esikhathini esiningi sishaya ovalo when we need to sell, because usaba rejection or usaba ukuthi abantu bazothini. What went into building that mindset? Yokuthi, sokuthi uzilaphe kule sifo sokuthi abantu bazothini, so that you are able to develop the right type of mindset uthengise, but also developing a mindset yokuba usomashishini.
Uvalo uzohlala kushaya. Kodwa faka imali yakho, it's just a forgotten in a verse in the Bible that says your heart will be where your money is. Faka imali yakho lapho. Lolo valo noma angithi, that's why even when you go out to fund my investments, they ask you ukuthi what is it you're looking for capital, but what is it that you put in? Because noma ushawa lolo valo uzokhumbula nama investment wakho wena usuwafakile. Iphupho lakho uzolukhumbula kodwa futhi kulolo valo ukuthi kahle kahle yini engifuna ukuyithola lana. It's natural. Uma ngingasebenzi, it's not like I won't lie sitting here in front of you Bulelani ngithi zazi ngekho ikhathi where I also thought of giving up. There were those times ukuthi you know what, I don't think I want to do this anymore. But as soon as ucabanga into give up, uphinde ucabanga ukuthi I've put so much already, sweat and tears, and give up manje probably sengiseduzana la engifuna ukuya khona. And for me futhi, as I grow, I think this example, as I grow, it's different when I was younger. When you are younger, we just I futhi kunamanye opportunities engisazowafuna, you know. But ngifike ku point la ibe ngithi, imagine if right now we are in South Africa and we got political freedom, and there were people that did not give up fighting for that political freedom. And Tina, as a generation here to MaZwane, what is it that we're going to leave for the next generation ezayo? And if we give up, I mean, angithini kubona. 3, I look background sonke sibuya kuyona Tina futhi, from the villages, from amalokishi, how Oma bethu raised us. Those ones, they were tough. It was not easy, but they did not give up. So I look back and get, if we decide to give up Tina manje, sitting it's not only about generation ezayo, but it's about nalaba abashiyele keep uvalo. You spoke about uvalo. That part is very important. Ngoba uzothuka vele. But kunabantu babethukile nabo. But here we are today in South Africa. Yini ke thina soyishiyela bezayo? If uvalo sizobuswa ilona.
No, man, I really love that. I think if we had the or the applause, but we don't have that, right? I really, really love what you're saying because Uvalo will always be there. I think it's really in and around how one navigates that particular vantage point and challenge. But when you started, was there any support that you had? Was it family? Was it from the community? Because I think esikhathini esiningi siyesigxeke umphakathi or abantu sometimes when we start because we feel like, well, they should have bought my products and so on and so forth. How did you navigate that? You know, being able to dissociate that mindset of whether call it entitlement or whatsoever that says community support, what does it look like? Customer support, what does it look like? And who's my family, who's my customer?
Leyo ihambisana nama values osuku nawo uma uqala ibusiness. Angithi any business osuku kuyona iyakwazi ukuba ireflection yama values wakho. It takes it takes a village to raise to raise a child. Also ku community la esibuya khona umitswayi lingekho ubuya ka next door uyofuna itswayi. So even when run business njengami umuthi nje how they navigate that one ye community ne support yama customer and everyone else, the minute umuntu la I became mina personally qala njengoMaZwane before sikhulume ngeproducts ababeyithanda, I became part of that community. Makushoniwe nami bengiba khona lapho. Uma kuneyingane okufanele ziye esikoleni bengiba khona lapho. Uma kunama opportunities angasiza i-community njengabo Heritage Day ebesibeka amatafula lana sifuna abantu abenza ama beats abathengisa what do you call this thina la eThekwini angithi sibiza inicholo and all those traditional gears. Before ulanda abantu ababuya ngaphandle ulanda community yenza ukuthi kube ne brand loyalty and bafeel ukuthi bayiphathi yaleyo business yakho. Over and above that, obviously i-product osukuyiphethe. I-product osukuyiphethe, i-community nayo iyayidinga. Even i-business yakho iyazi bayi-protect ma uyiphathi yayo. If you look around la bulelana ubheke kunama billboards. Uma check ama billboard ala ayikho enotshwala. And kwakulula for mina if yonke into engangiyenza was just about profits only. To say ngoba i-billboard esuke iza notshwala ngithi it's got more revenue. But and it means i-billboard enotshwala lana mina ngiyibhizi khona la sinoshisanyama iyabona ziyakhulumisana. But i-community it's where ababona khona ukuthi kunama values usuku waphethe. If you then call the same community uthi kubona guys ngibona ngathi kufaka i-billboard enotshwala lana enangivumelani mina nayo ngoba kuleli khona kudlula izingane ziya esikoleni. And makudlula izingane zesikoleni emalokishini abafake izinto ezi-educational. We can't have that. And ube yiphathi angithi wena as a business person you become a leader ku community and usudlala a leadership role. Maybe bona ayikho into ebezobe mabeyibona but okay what can we do, but then you call a community wena useniyama la sewutoyitoya kanye nabo ukuthi you are not putting ibillboard yotshwala. And since that time up until njengoba uyibona ayikho ebhizi khona because i-community iyakwazi ukuthi ikusupporte uma uyiphathi yabo.
I mean, I love that, guys. I mean, deeply entrenching your brand, emphakathini, in your immediate community is super essential. Now, here you are, you're navigating, you're growing the business. I mean, some of the challenges that we come across, especially as business owners when we are growing the business, is in and around, the teams. Finding the right people. Sometimes you don't find the right people. Abanye batshontsha, abanye basebenza ngokuzikhandla, abanye benzeni. How was the journey for you? And what are some of the challenges that you came across in hiring and some of the lessons and building the right teams?
Bulela nisengakhohlwa bathi abantu sifuna bathenga iy'ncwadi zethu. Fanele sibambe siyeka singangeni kakhulu khona indaba yonke bezoyithola ey'ncwadini.
No, true,
Yes,
true.
but ke all right. Well,
But isicephezana.
isicephezana ne kancane nje. Okay. Obviously that lento ishoyo futhi it does become part of a challenge uma usuke ibusiness seyikhula ngoba sosefanele uthole abantu abaskilled kuma departments wabo like HR or bookkeeper and how then do you build that structure kumina ezibhizi khona i-challenge enkulu kwakuyikuthi vele i-food and beverage nje was not sort of like a career choice for abantu abancane ababesakhula. Mostly mawukhuluma nge-food and beverage either mawuqeda esikoleni uyoba uthisha uyoba unesi or phoyisa uyabona yezo. Now ukubuilda i-structure kule industry vele kwakuyi-challenge such that kube kufanele umuntu athi umebona ukuthi kahle hle ngibathola abantu abaskilled. Mina ngine-passion ngiyayazi into engiyifunayo but it's not like nami I went for i-training ye-food and beverage. Kwadingakala ukuthi umuntu ahlale phansi acabanga ukuthi then what do you do? And when we formed the bursary program, in my case, it basically means anyone else osuke mina that's what I did ngo-2012. Ngaqala i-bursary program.
Oh, wow.
Ngabathatha abanye baya ko-TUT ba-qualify. Till today ngihlale ngi-proud kusho ukuthi i-manager yethu operations manager wa-qualify e-TUT efundiswe ibhizi khona because ngangibona ukuthi it's challenging ukuthola abantu aba-skilled not i-experience just nje abane-qualification ye-food and beverage especially South Africans. Abanye bayokwenza baba oshefu sasibhadala because akithi this is part of empowerment. As abantu abasha you grooming them and from that point lezi ezinye iy'kili ke like bookkeeping HR obviously you had to hire uthola abantu abazuza bakusize. Family members, that part is also very important. Uyi-surround nama-family members ebengazi ukuthi back from home abantu abathanda ukusebenza abantu abadisciplined uyayibona nje mabekhuphuka beza ngapha e-KZN. And in fact because this is one thing makusuke khulunywa nge-black tax. Someone asked me about black tax Bulelani ukuthi thina we don't call it black tax because sikhule sazi vele ukuthi uma kukhona ongcono akalekelele abanye. If umuntu e-Eastern Cape kunabantu owaziyo ukuthi lento engiyenzayo le dombo lengilifunayo ose-Eastern Cape ozongenzela lona ubani engimaziyo engambiza mlande. I worked ku-restaurant isasekhona the Raj.
Yes, ngiyayibona.
Yes, I worked there. Kuleyo restaurant abo-chef bakhona bonke babelandwa from India because kwakuna taste ethize specific ababeyifuna and they would get or chef from India khona bezokhipha leyo taste so as us namapapa wethu so as us as some of ukudla kwethu. And if you want to export it uyabona ke sithi siyayikhipha ushisanyama siwumikise eNew York. Obviously kufanele u-export nabantu but i-challenge nje enkulu kwakuyileyo ukuthi la mina engangiyikhona kwakunzima ukubathola abantu aba-understand i-industry. Kwafanele ngenzeni ngikhiphe ephaketheni bahambe baye esikoleni bayofunda.
Sure. But just on the back of that, you see if there's one constant thing over and above le mbuzo engibuza yona is your passion. How important is it, or rather, how important is it to have that passion? Because it's so energizing sitting here next to you. Bathi kuyabanda but angizwi lutho. You know, kubaluleke njani ukuthi ube nepassion yakhe izwakale so that your customers feel and experience and taste that passion that you have.
Yes. That fire, ne?
That fire. Imbizo.
That's coming from, yes, you know, Imbizo Shisanyama.
You're living the brand,
yes,
actually.
that fire that must come from inside.
Yes.
And if fire that comes from inside must be stronger than, dude, the fire that is around you. Ngoba ziyasha ku business. Kodwa that fire will drive you.
I love that.
So that's why that you see that passion, because passion, everything, even ukudla angithi futhi masikhuluma ngokudla angithi mina ngisekudleni, even when I raise my children mangidla endlini ngifast kabi ukuthi ngithi ayazi there was no passion kulokudla. You can taste it. Bekungana passion lana. So uma yikho iskill so chef ngisithanda kangaka futhi. Yikho futhi ushisanyama njengoba ukhona eSouth Africa ngempela ochef ufanti bande ngoba ukudla kuxoxa istory.
Sure. So this particular book, ladies and gentlemen, that we have in the center is available for sale. But when you wrote this book, you know, Conquering the Poverty of the Mind.
Yes.
And this is a very powerful, you know, book because it was yet personal but also has business nuggets.
Yes.
What message did you want to convey across to anyone who would be interested in this book?
Uyazi ubuza umbuzo obaluleke kabi bulelani ngoba into engiyibukile noma iyiphi impi.
Yes.
You know, when you fight battles, you first win the battle in your mind or you lose it in your mind first.
Yes.
So conquering poverty
I love that.
of the mind. Basically what I want people to get, you draw a scenario in your mind. Are you drawing the positive one or you drawing the negative one? And when you draw the positive scenario, that's the outcome that guaranteed you're gonna get.
Sure.
No doubt about that.
Sure.
Because it's your roadmap that you are drawing in the mind and nobody sees it.
Sure. Yeah, man, I really, really love that because everything then starts in your mood, right? But of all the chapters in the book, which one is your favorite chapter? I know it's difficult because every chapter is your favorite chapter.
Yes.
But is there a chapter that you...
Yes. Kakhulu. The one that talks about township economy.
Oh, wow.
That's the chapter that I like because that one unpacks the township economy.
I love
that one makes it clear why when investors or investment comes out of the township, it has to include township businesses and township entrepreneurs because we become then the bridge. It's easy for anyone who's got money, wants to get into the township, you know, even if it's big investments, to navigate doing business in the townships, you need people that have been there long enough, either to partner with them or to, you know, to get some advice from them. How do you keep your business in the township? How do you get that loyalty from your consumers in the township? What is it exactly that people look for? It's a two-way street.
Yeah, I love
run a
that.
business in the township. So that one, Jay, I love it so much. Of course, yeah. All right, say one. Let me leave it.
No, maybe the second. No. I
can feel it.
Deprive our guests.
All right.
Feel it.
I can feel. Yes, there is one. That's the second one. The second chapter that I like. I can feel it in my vein. I love that one because it was when I wanted to formalize Imbizo Shisanyama as a subsector. I could feel it in my vein that this is not just Imbizo Shisanyama as MaZwane is building her business, but this is a brand that's going to be recognized in South Africa. This is a brand that is going to disrupt the industry. I could feel that in my vein when we opened it.
So Imbizo Shisanyama is without a doubt, number one, a leading cultural brand, and number two, a leading heritage brand. It's a fact.
Yes.
I mean, I think I told you at some point I was in Paris and someone made reference to how they had great food. Do you know this place in South Africa called Busy Corner?
Yes.
You know, at what point did you either feel, see, know, what, yeah, we are not, because we never arrive in business, but yeah, we are there. This thing is a heritage brand now.
Yes, yes. Um, it was around 2010 when there was that soccer World Cup,
Yes, yes.
and there were screens in many places, parks, and a busy corner was so full around 2010. Like you would think that it was another park in Ivory Park or in Ebony Park.
Oh, wow.
And the tons of meat, tons that we sold on that day, that I will not forget. And that was the day 2010 that I looked at it and I thought to myself, this is it.
Sure,
This is it.
sure.
By the time I get, people like when you
Yeah.
go to Cape Town, you go Mzoli, you get or Max coming here to, because even Utira, sometimes, Bulela, you're not going to believe this. Today I look at Utira and I remember there was a time after 2012 when everyone was telling me that when I was Sisi then, not Ma,
Yeah.
because but this is Tira. When you get into business, but it's not when as a person your lifestyle. You're
Yes,
running a
yes.
business, Mina, hardly going to clubs, but I share somewhere in my book where a friend once took me to a club, but it was not the lifestyle. And obviously you don't know all popular DJs.
Yes,
And
yes.
today I sit and think, I'm sure Utira, when he was sitting here and he is told that this is an Imbizo owner, and I just greeted him like I'm greeting anyone else. And okay, what's happening here? But yeah, I haven't shared that with him. I would like to
Yes.
share it with him one day that I remember those years. But it was the time when basically Nami I knew, because I would be told after someone is gone, has left to Ipi's corner to say, who were you talking to? And I would
Yes.
get embarrassed. Imagine I got embarrassed when even Pastor Soli Mahlangu
Yes.
brought TD Jakes. TD Jakes from America. Pastor Soli Mahlangu brought to TD Jakes for the taste of a braai.
Oh,
Because
wow.
I get it's always been my thing to say
Yes, yes.
it must be a tourist hub, it must be a tourist destination. And when they wanted to have, sort of like a township feel, township experience, Pastor Soli Mahlangu says, MaZwane, your meat, I want to bring, it didn't say TD Jakes.
Yeah.
He actually said to me, please prepare braai mix. We'll sit in the boardroom. The boardroom is at the back. Of course, I need to, Mina, as MaZwane, always busy trying to make sure that the food is nicely presented. Of course, it's Pastor Soli Mahlangu.
Yes,
Itiela
yes.
Mfundisi and Nekatlar Mfundisi has to be right.
Yes, 100%.
And as I walked out, I saw this face. This face, there's something familiar about this face. But I didn't. I didn't bother to find out who. And 2 weeks later, I'm told that MaZwane, who you were serving there with Pastor Soli Mahlangu. They said TD Jakes. Oh my goodness.
What?
TD Jakes was at busy corner. I could have taken a photo.
Yes.
I don't know if I should call it naivety at the time, or I should call it when your mind is always in business and sometimes you miss just those important engagement. But of course I did not miss who is this soccer player that was here at busy corner. Oh my goodness, what's his name now? Oh, how do I forget this? Because my son's wife was David Beckham's,
Yes.
was very upset that David Beckham's was coming to busy corner, and imagine my son's wife was upset that he did not tell her. But at least I did not miscare David Beckham.
Yes.
So I'm just, giving sort of examples of when we say tourist hub, tourist destination, what do we mean?
Sure. Ah, man, what a story. I don't even know whether to continue or to pause, right? Because what a story. And I think for me, it goes back to talking about the power of the township economy, a resilient entrepreneur. But just on the back of that, sometimes when we operate as township entrepreneurs, we operate with an element of doubt because we think, man, I want to work and one day one day I'll be a centen.
Yes.
You know, and I think that sometimes that mindset you less bambele move because you want to be something
Yes,
you are
yes.
not. How important is it, ma, to love where you are, to
Yes.
own where you are?
Yes,
You know,
yes.
because I guess maybe with that mindset you go to build it bazoza ngesikhathi right.
Yes. And the funny
Sure,
ngoba
wow,
ngalesikhathi sithi thina we want to be in Sandton, guess what? Abase Sandton sebebonile ukuthi the money is in the township.
Yeah.
It's not plastic money, it's the real money.
Sure.
As Tina, we are moving outbound, they are coming in. Of course, there is the pressure at the same time. I'm talking about, well, maybe today's generation, there is sort of like a pressure when you run a business in the township. Yeah, you know what? Rather be in affluent suburb. But it's important to sort of like own your space. Also, the part that is important, Bulelani, when you are an entrepreneur or you are a business owner, even a small business owner, it's very important to be an operator. Hish.
Hey, I love that.
You must be convincing.
I love that.
You must be
I love
able to
that.
sell your product
I love
with
that.
such confidence, you know.
Yes.
And the next person will see that you actually believe in what you are selling. It's very important. And that will drive sales because at the end of the day, you are in business so that you can make money, so that you can grow business. But be convincing, be an operator. I mean, you must be someone who is not shy in terms of talking and who does not get tired to talk. Be a salesperson.
But now
you are in business.
But what about labo bathi hey mina ngisaba ukukhuluma hey ngisaba because mina ngiye ngibatshele ukuthi no kuzomela ufunde. But what about those ones abantu basaba ukukhuluma?
Uzokhulunyelwa ubani uma ngabe
Yes.
i-product yakho wena ungakwazi. Remember i-product yakho yona can't talk. Eyakho product.
Yes.
So if wena ungayikhulumeli i-product yakho, who's going to do that? If ikota yakho that is different from makota esiwajwayele, if I were to use just that example encane, if ikota yakho now you know what is different, but anyone else who walks past and they ebona ikota, uzothi it's the same kota. When you need to be able to convince the next person ukuthi why is your kota different. That's the time when you end up having Okota Joe as franchises. Because what do? Bayawakhulumisa ama-products wabo. And by the way, talking about Ukota Joe, ama Texera brothers, those are the guys where I bought the first container from.
What?
And yes.
Years back.
Yes. And ngiyamkhumbula when you were saying to me there is a good business in the township Yamakota, 2 businesses that he said to me and they formalized them. I think that's the challenge, Tina, that we have in township sometimes. I'm a business, so the township grown products. Tina sigcina sesiwajwayela. Yet laba bangaphandle Sandton, when they come in, they see ama opportunity, bawa formalize, bawa franchise. Sisale sama spectators all the time. So 2 businesses ayikhuluma ngawo those years ago, eyamakota, the Texera brothers, and the reason why I'm mentioning them because I continue I bought it from them anyway.
Wow.
And those are the people that till today they are still my mentors.
Wow.
So
Sure.
2 ekhuluma ngebhizikhona wayethi sometimes ama products abantu don't have enough money. Instead of buying 5 kg wempuphu and you still have to pay for packaging, how about sibe ne ton drum in a ton yempuphu and someone can bring a container yakhe and discuss ama cost packaging.
Yes.
And isn't it what is happening right now? Isn't it an opportunity
Yes.
auction? And if the opportunity ikhona ubani okufanele ayikhulumele wena mnikazi wayo akekho ozokhulumela i-product yakho
so that you drive. But I mean, over the years, you've inspired a lot of us and many other young or male and female, upcoming, some are old entrepreneurs across the board. I mean, I love the first point that you mentioned, ukuthi you need to be an operator.
Oh, yeah.
You know, kumele ukhulumele product yakho. Ngaphezu kwalokho, is there any other 2 or 3 things that you would love to advise us on? Are there izinto ekumele sizicaphele or things that we need to do so that sikwazi ukukhulisa amabhizinisi wethu?
Uyazi mhlambe nje ngizomenshina one engiyibukile engiyibone engiyifunde from kumina. Mawusuyikhulisa ngiyathanda ngoba ngiyazibulelana wena uvamsile ukuthi uthi yazini i-township economy they call it an informal
Yeah,
economy
yeah.
wena uthi wo asimeni kancane nge-informal economy guys kanti soze sibe formal nini
Yes,
you know
yes, yes.
so something to learn engiyifundile nami nakuphathi ye-growth yami gosh this is very important ukuyiplana let's live now informal
Yes.
let's live now becoming small let's get to medium and large because at some point ifanele sikhulume large businesses at some point phela nathi bakithi from emalokishini ake sikhuluma abo stock exchange Nkosi yami oJoburg stock exchange
yes.
ake sibonakale but uma usufika ku position la ubona khona ukuthi kahle kahle le business engikuyona isiyaqala ukukhula ipreparele igrowth yakho
Ish.
properly.
I love that. I love that.
Yes.
Sure.
Ipreparele psychologically, emotionally and financially. Cause kulula ukuthi uma ungayipreparelanga ubuyele emuva. Cause kunama challenges amaningi ozothi uma wafica phambili but at least you are prepared. Go and find mentors, read books, you know. Get things done. Read books like this. Read incwadi ey'fana that has got to do with i-growth ye-business because mina njengoba ngishilo bulelani ukuthi from la engibuya khona angibuyi la uthola ukuthi I've got a business background or any certificates e-business background but it's books like this ebengiyifunda so that's the advice enkulu engingayinikeza and as imali yakho iqhamuka isave futhi leyo mali to prepare for i-growth ye-business yakho. By the time you want to grow a business, you're only looking for 50% kuma funders or financiers.
I mean, how do you see, and I love the point actually, but also, how do you see the role of women in entrepreneurship, but most importantly, township entrepreneurship evolving? Because I think, in my view, women in business, women, our mom and in general, are the ones
Yes.
who've held this economy. That's just in my view.
Yes, yes.
Not to talk badly about the other gender, my gender, but because street corner, the formal businesses, the structured one, they are running. So how do you see their role in this now new shifting economy, and how do we support them better?
Yes. Yabona ke leyo question bulelani ithi le podcast sekufanele iphumeke ngo-August. Women's Month.
I want a little piece later, so you lahlela Women's Month. Female, you must put that piece. Women, we live, yeah. But guys, we're operators. I'm operating.
Operators, yes. Phela bawukhumbula yo ngicela ukungathathi more than 2 minutes kule
No.
answer.
Yes, please.
Uma ukhumbula baba angithi mina Rita bulelani.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
And that's another thing eyang inspire kakhulu ukurana ibusiness ewushisanyama ne-culture ne-history ne-heritage bebeye emayini beyosebenza emamayini obana de besela emakhaya making sure ukuthi abantwana kufanele badle mama
Sure.
bebenzani bebelima bebeletha sibuyela kuma villages manje bebelima bebeletha abantwana ngemuva makushona ilanga bazi ukuthi ngesikhathi esithize sithola i-product yethu bayadla abanye bayathengisa njengoba ukhomba nasemasayidini omgwaqo ayikho into ebaluleke. It is very important to have women in business because women by nature designed by God siya nature thina siyakhulisa asikhulisa ingane zamantombazane kuphela sikhulisa nabafana sikhulisa ama-leaders. How then lawo ma-leaders kufanele akhule abe obani afunda ukusustaina imizi yabo and abantu abasustaine imizi kuqala obaba bese imayini bezoletha imali or bezoqhamuka once ngonyaka bekuyibona umama. Uma ubheka i-conquering poverty of the mind ngenza i-example kunoMary Ngalo lapha engibafakayo as an example mama okuyibona ababe that were brewing traditional beers and kuthe makucaca ukuthi bane-market kwaqhamuka ama-products afana nabojuba yabona those traditional mawusethekwini ibizwa ijuba and lawo ma-products owayephethe imali wayebona i-demand but mama ababenza lowo msebenzi basibeyayiformalize. Now uma angithi kuneseyingi ethi uma unikeza umuntu wesimame i-opportunity uchange izwe. You are changing the face and the look of the nation by empowering a woman. Because when you empower a woman, rest assured, abantwana bakhe and everyone else or around yena will be empowered. Akushongo mina Bulelani, kusho wena ukuthi not that le gender enye awu angithi wena ushilo uma ungibuza ukuthi how important it is.
it's true.
Yes. Angisho lokho but oh mama baba o-CEO bemizi yabo. So when you make them o-CEO bama companies, you change everything, you change the economy of the country, the landscape, yendlela business ebukwa ngayo.
And then just the second question on the back of this, this particular question, Ma. I find with listening, there's so many women I've met. Some I've had the opportunity of working with. Some sit in boardrooms as we are pitching. And then you pick up and you would see they are the ones who actually drove that whole entire agenda, whether it was a project or whatsoever. What advice would you have for young women, whether in entrepreneurship, in professional settings, to own their voice? You know, to make their voice heard and to really just, whether it's male-dominated spaces, and just take over those spaces.
Yes, the question on Bulelani actually ipendulekile. Own their voices.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what space sinjani. But voice yakho, angithi this reminds me of abantu abafana no Mama Winnie Madikizela Mandela. I mean, what else Winnie Madikizela had? Ngaphandle kwe voice yakhe. In those but mina one thing without losing ukuba feminine as a woman, ngoba sometimes in those spaces I know corporates, because I do sit with young women in business abaku corporates, and they do come to MaZwane. And I do try my best to convey message. You don't have to be like have to make your voice heard and be like heavy physical daughter. Be like, it's your voice that has to have power. But ungalose ukuba feminine kwakho at the same time. There's nothing wrong with that. Sure. After all, umuntu wesimame. After all, that's who we are. But if voice yakho ayibe so powerful that your voice as a woman can drive change. We are the change makers in any way as women.
I mean, I think at some point, in one of the articles or interview that I read, I think you were talking about the importance of preserving, our heritage, and honoring our leaders. And I think you talk about, I think in that particular article or interview I was researching, you spoke about Bab Talent, Bab Tabet, Bab Twala.
Yes.
What is the importance of understanding, honoring, and really just finding blueprints in these amazing legendary stories?
Well, Mina, with that one, when you look at, in fact, in each and every township, a corner in South Africa, you find that kunama legends wakhona that started businesses first when the environment was not so conducive.
Yes.
And their stories were not told. Hence, Tina, and those are the ones that the first generation of black entrepreneurs in South Africa. Preserving them, it would have been lovely if many of them, their names or their legacy were preserved by family members. But we also understand why. Running businesses back in the days, like entrepreneurship and was not fashionable. Even them, when they got into those businesses, they were getting into them so that they can take their children, to higher education, and then they go to corporate.
Yes.
But you have about Senzo Manje. I use Senzo, my son, who went to university, come back and say, you know what, there is something here that MaZwane built that we can take forward. So that party, today's generation, I would say it's very important to look at the businesses that their parents started and see how you can raise those businesses and see how you can grow those businesses and see how you can make those businesses national footprint, even export some of the products that they will say that those businesses have. But all I can say is that when I mentioned Talent in Umlazi, where I come from, executive hotel, because then black people would not go to town to go to the hotels. Imagine a visionary, Ubab Talente, deciding that I'm going to have a hotel in Umlazi. People, when there were games coming from Gauteng, Gauteng today, but from Ekoli,
Yes,
back in the
yes,
days,
yes, yes.
they knew that there was a hotel in Umlazi. So it's very important because that's legacy. When we look at many big businesses today, it's businesses that were built many years ago, centuries ago, and maybe it's the fourth or fifth generation that is in those businesses. And that's what Nat would like to see.
Sure. And I think for me, just on this one, I think it's important that we tell the stories, especially even in documenting this particular story with you because you're a pioneer, so that if you're a young person out there, you don't make the assumption that says you will only gain inspiration or guidance abroad. Because as I sit, I can now follow the journey. If the first time you are being introduced to this amazing, legendary, phenomenal entrepreneur, now you've got a blueprint in the form of a book, in the form of infrastructure where you can go learn from a distance and watch how you maneuver, because lente success in Gitanda, especially when it's done authentically, because it leaves footprints. And that's what I believe you've done. And also the other many other legendary entrepreneurs that are out there, but we need to tell their stories as loud as we potentially can, so that we are able to then build on that heritage. Because this Katina's thing now, we lose the how we build because we want to build like the European brands. Whereas there are beautiful things you've mentioned around this fire that burns within, being able to emulate that into an actual brand and an actual culture. Sure, but over and above everything we're speaking about now, is there a piece of advice you've ever gotten that has always stood with you, or your motto, or something you read, or atshelwa yona, ubana sazi, but that has always just, whether it's one or two things that have always been hlezi nawe, whether times are dark or times are blue, ihlezi now?
Yes. Well, mhlamba ngibuyele engangiyitshelwa uma wami ehlezi inami. Whenever times are dark, because there is something you touched on. Even when we tell these stories, we can't always tell the good part of them. There are, the good, the bad, and the ugly of being an entrepreneur. But uma wami wayehlala ethi mina uyazi MaZwane, in fact she's 95, uyaphila namanje. Yeah, that one was a hustler of note. That one, yeah. Even at 90, she was still finding ways to hustle, to hustle, but not to move around the operator, but telling you what you need to do. Yes, it's something. Ehlala ethi uvalo. Even if uvalo lungakushaya kanjani uma izinto zingahambi kahle, but khumbula, that's my mother, khumbula ukuthi lolu valo olukushaya namhlanje makusa kusasa uzothola ukuthi belukupreparela for something else or for something big. Uvalo lungakustopi, uvalo uzokushaya, but mntanami lungakustopi ekuqhubekeni nephupho lakho nento ofuna ukuyenza. Do take that deep breath, bamba umoya. My mother's words, uthandaze, thandaza, because i-journey yakho eyakho, and i-journey yakho, I mean, it designed long before you were born. That's my mom.
Sure.
I-journey yakho designed long before you were born. So uvalo lungakustop ukuthi uqhubeke uye phambili. And whatever ohlangana naye endleleni, you'll be surprised ukuthi ngempela futhi kupreparela ikusasa. If kule less than a minute bulelani,
Yes,
ngithe mangena ema-trucking,
yes,
around 2008, I bought 3 trucks, kwaku horse and trailer trucks. Wena abafazi ulandene ema-trucking umfazi. Ngaleso sikhathi emamayini kwakunamathenda amaningi kabi.
yes.
Yangasebenza kahle leyo business. And makufanele kodwa ngawabhadala ama-trucks throughout u5 years low. Uvalo enganginalo kwakulula ukuthi ngithi njoba sengiqala ukuba nzima ema-trucking, maybe angigive up, ngibhadale, ngoba it was lots of money engangiyikolota, angibhadale i-debt engangiyikolota ibank. You know what, ngibuyele emsebenzini ngiyosebenza, akusalungi. Mara ngakhumbula ukuthi kahle hle lama-truck bengiwathenge ngebusiness enye. inkinga njengoba kuyilama truck angiqede ngawo mase ngiyaqhubeka nejourney yami ngoba out of everything else osukuyenza there is just that one business othola ukuthi izobe define wena ukuthi ubani all the time. And kuyona and that business igcina icaterpillar kuyiyona eyakha amanye ama businesses. Keep that business going. If nakhona ke uthola ukuthi like you said bulelani ukuthi ngangikulalele kule FNB esasikuyona sise where was it lapha eThebizi
lapha man Winnie
Mandela. Yes. You get to a point when you decide ukuthi you know what manje kulungile le business angiyithengise. Then it's fine when you get to a point othola ukuthi what I needed to achieve sengiachievile, then I must sell this business, then it's okay.
But you know, you've had such a, such a journey over 28 years and more. What has given you the staying power? Because we read stats talking about, you know, a majority of business, about 60% or 70% of businesses don't last beyond the first 2 years or 3 years or so on and so forth. But here you are with the resilience and sheer capabilities you've been able to withstand various challenges, and not to say there's a lot of challenges, but you are still here today. What are some of those, before the operational stuff, what are some of those things from a character perspective do you think we need to be able to emulate, you know, the staying power of saying 28 years in, I'm going to be still relevant because I've got these characteristics as a business owner?
Yes, before ngene kuma characteristics mhlambe yini esustainayo ibusiness mawuthi 2 years, 2 years angithi usukusabona ukuthi ibusiness ikhona yini. Then 5 years usukubona ukuthi okay there is business lana, you know, isikhulile. Kodwa it's also important to remain true to your brand promise. What is it that you are promising? Busy Corner was promising Imbizo Shisanyama Africa's ultimate braai experience. How then do you remain relevant 10 years, 15 years, 20 years? How do you craft that business after 5 years or 10 years down the line when you've made that 10 years? How do you craft it such that you know in the next 10 years or the next 2 decades it will still be relevant? I was looking at, in my industry, I looked at many other steakhouses that have been there for years. What is it that, you know, they still keep that you still find? So in Busy Corner, when we say remaining true to a brand promise yako, when you say it's about your lifestyle, it's about the experience, what kind of experience? You're creating great memories. It doesn't just happen. It's like success. Success does not come by chance. You set your mind for it.
Sure. So
you have to create. Then you go with times. What is it that is different? The one that is in mid-trend is creating a different experience. So, but as a person, coming back now, I was talking about a brand. Coming back to a person, what is it that you have to have a leadership character and personality? You do not get tired of teaching young generation. You do not get tired of showing people that are coming in your business how things are done. You become a leader. You don't just tell them. You know, it's like at home, when you look at children, it's one thing that you've documented it. And if we're talking operation, there are processes, there are documents. That document, you know, operational document, I can give it to you, you can read. But how you speak to a customer, you know, sawubona, kunjani, dumela, how you present yourself in front of a customer, those are lessons that you continue to teach. But as you teach them, you live them as well. Ubulelani noma eqhamuka uzobona uoled ukuthi ayiphela uoled, but sawubona bulelani. You don't change that. You don't change your personality. I-character yakho awuyishintshi Nkosi yami. Angithi there is a saying ukuthi who the real person is umbona mayiphethe imali. Mina there are times engangibuza my banker, ngithi mina kusuke kunjani noma unganamali and people still think uhlezi nemali. You know what did he say? But it's because MaZwane, you remain the same. Whether there is money and there is no money, you remain the same. Awushintshe. So that part is remain humble. Always respect my customer wako. It doesn't matter how much you've grown. You can never be bigger than them. After all, Ibona that have put you here.
Sure.
Ibona that will always take you to the next level.
I mean, I think in wrapping up the podcast, just two more questions, Namo. I mean, you've, but I think beyond just doing something for you and your family, you've now done something for us as a broader community, even many others that know you, but you don't know them, thousands and thousands and thousands. So I think at this particular point is to say, what legacy do you believe you're intentionally building for us? Because we have been impacted, about, for the years to come.
Yes.
Especially for township entrepreneurs, because you're a leader in that sense and in that space and pioneering not just the Shisanyama industry, but pioneering how we move and maneuver and operate across multiple industries nationwide.
Yes. Legacy engathi it's economic emancipation, guys.
I love that. Yeah.
Until you are economically free, you are actually not completely free. And it's a case whereby you saying, do I wait for someone to emancipate you or me or you as the young generation, or you do it yourself? You find ways. Even in difficult circumstances, there are always opportunities. Look around you. Find that the opportunity. Find something that you know in your heart you are passionate about. And out of what you are passionate about, you'd find an opportunity. I would use the example yokuthi indawo cleaning ayithanda. And masisema people are looking for employment. And there are many people that are in the township. And yet the nearest suburbs, there are families that are looking for people that will do cleaning, washing, and it's an idea that when I'm sitting and I'm thinking that I wish we could have someone in every township that has got, sort of like a company. I'm just sharing this. Sort of like a company that gets all the young people that are not working to say, come, let's show you how to do laundry, how to clean, how to do. And when people that are nearest up suburbs in that township are looking for cleaners, they know there is a company that is yes, you can get your services. So I'm using that as an opportunity to say there are opportunities. And after all, journey yakho nokuthi where do you want to see yourself in life, it's up to you as a person. Nobody will take you there. You're the one that must get yourself there.
And then I think the last one, Ma, is any closing. I mean, you've given us so many nuggets, so many nuggets. But to the person who's listening to this, who's watching this, whether professional, small business owner, policymaker, purse holder in a big corporate, what would be your message in just wrapping up our conversation today?
Yes. Umuntu ongilalele as uMaZwane maybe ngicela ukuqala ngabaku business, small businesses, young people, because ngiyabathanda. God gives you the desires of your heart. Does not dream for you, but makes you dream. Gives you what you are desiring. To ama big businesses, when they come to the township to invest, it's not always about investing in a particular space that you have bought, but it's also investing in a broader community. When people come into that space, be it's a retail shopping center or it's industries, just make sure that the surrounding of that particular space that you are in does show, you've brought dignity to that community, either than just coming to make money and get profits.
Sure.
And to the government, we talk about policies. And the reason why I'm saying some people, it's not that they want financial assistance all the time, but it's actually policies that can change the circumstances. It's policies that can drive growth and drive the economy in the townships. I know that they've spoken so many times in all the years about creating the conducive environment in the township, and I used to love the term. I would say they must not give up. The environment in townships these days is no longer conducive. In our times when we were running businesses and when that term was used the most, you could see the effort that they were making. Sometimes it's easy to say 30 years later, you know what, people get whether deflated because of the infrastructure that is vandalized, but things like whole law enforcement, it's something to look at again, so that the environment is also good for a small business to be able to grow within the same community. That's all that I would say.
Sure. I mean, I think for me, maybe representing many other business owners out there that are upcoming, just thank you so much for your amazing, inspirational journey. I think for me, it's a beautiful journey. It's a model for me, because when I think about how to grow, that's where I think about how to grow. When I think about, the character that you should have, Ubuntu,
Yes.
the respect, the approachability that you should have even as a leader, never ever be far removed from the realities of actual life. But also, I look at your journey and your story and I remember, take ownership. Love the township, because that's where the money real, and I love what you said, it's not plastic money, it's real money, and in this community, in this economy. But thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you. I love you very much. Ngiyabonga kakhulu. Thank you so much. Thank
No,
you.
nami ngiyabonga kakhulu Bulelani, and I do hope it's gonna make a different and get up. What do you say? Get things done. People are gonna get things done.
Sure.
Yeah.
Guys, there you have it. Legendary entrepreneur, Rita Zwane. We're shooting the podcast from the legendary Imbizo Shisanyama out in Tembisa. Come out here, man. Experience the food, experience the energy. Come sit and take in the operations, the systems, without even asking any questions. Success always leaves footprints. Let's unpack our legendary stories so that we find ways of how to start, run, and even scale and grow our businesses. See you guys again next week for another episode of the Kasi Business Podcast. Click that subscribe button at the bottom, follow, and share the word. Thank you. Get things done.